My name is Stuart. I'm working for Craig at S5 Solutions, and my topic would be on tricks and tips in LabVIEW. So here's some things that I put in almost all of my projects. I have different kinds of customers. Some that have projects that they need me to work on, and some that they want me to start up fresh. So I get kind of some things that I put in that make it easier for them to use, easier for me to develop, and really simple, really easy. First thing is to use this application kind. This will tell you how is your program running running for development or is as an application if you've created an executable. And this is useful throughout the code, starting from the beginning. What I do is in development modes, I'll have like hidden tabs and hidden controls that down below that the end user will not be able to see, and these will allow me to help with my development, my debugging in their environment. So another thing you can do with that is if you're in a development mode, after you've figured out after your program determines how it's running, you can disable some of the front panel properties. One that I like to do is when I'm in development mode, I can resize things, make things nice, framed up nicely on their monitors. But after it becomes an executable, I'll disable those. So here's a problem, and that's so from one test session to the next, how do you get your variables to persist so that they don't have to keep entering in their product name or their identification or their name, whatever, product type. And so the solution that I found for this was if you use the control references for each of your front panel controls, you can create labels and values from those, and then save those to a config file. And so in the top illustration has at the end of after they've exited, you do this right. They'll save all their variables into a config file, and then when they boot it up again in the bottom part, it'll read that config file and reload all those variables back into the controls. I also use this for our note area, so I'll have like a tab or someplace where this could either be for me or it could be for the technician. Sometimes the test station might have some glitches or some kind of weird performance things that they need to take notes of. They can put notes in this this is just a string control. They can just type their notes in there, and that'll persist from one session to the next. And so, they shut down the application, bring it up. The controls have their values. The notepad shows them any special instructions or notes that they may have they may need when they get stuck. And I was surprised about this. You can even put in complex structures. Here's an array of clusters, and you can put that into this as well, and it'll save all those values. So it doesn't seem to care how complex the structure is to do this. It doesn't have to be just this integer or double string type. It could be something very, very complex. And it's expandable. Here's an instance where I'm saving a whole bunch of front panel controls and sending them off to this writer and then reader. Another problem. So you're working in your block diagram and you place a control on your block diagram. Now, it never puts it in someplace nice. It's always, you know, sometimes you're hunting a long way for it and it screws up your screen. You might have carefully, you might have carefully arranged everything very nicely, and now it's all messed up. So, and here's an example of that. I just put some controls on there, and you know, it's not going to put it nicely in the tabs, but and so here's another way. If you look at if that front panel window bounds, those values actually save as I previously said in that config file, and so when it comes up, when the program comes up, it reads that, and I load that in. If you look in the upper right illustration, there's a little mark there on your desktop if you on the front panel, and it's your zero origin. And if you zero your origin, you will.
1 minute.
If you zero your origin, it's going to center you around that, and the front panel controls are going to get you to the right size. I'm not going to have time to show you that problem. You've set up your system to run, and you've got it all ready to go, and you press the run button, and all your hardware is configured, and you see something weird, and you want to put a probe on there or something, but you haven't. Your block diagram isn't open. So I'll put a control on there that it's a user event. You click on that, and it brings up your block diagram. This happens a lot. Here's something that I've heard a lot today, is that LabVIEW looks too much like LabVIEW. So one thing that I do is to get rid of the stop button, get rid of that, and use the panel close button. You can do that with another user event. Click on that X, that's the panel close user event, and this will close down your application for you. I'll do that.